Morning everybody, welcome to session 3 of Ornament Your Very Own Italian Madrigal. Things you will need today. So probably worth having the original madrigal just to hand in case you want to check what was there before we started messing about with things. I've got a new copy with yet more notes deleted, so you need to print that out. It's in a PDF and a link under the video. So we're looking at ornamenting rising thirds today. So what I have done, and what it would be useful if you did before we start, is I've taken the new copy with the rising thirds missing, and I've transferred into it all the cadential ornaments that we put in the very first session and all the rising steps that we did last time. So my copy has now got both of those sets of ornaments written in, and then it's got the new rising thirds with the brackets over to show what we're going to work on today. So it would be worth just taking a minute to transfer everything you've done so far into this new copy so we can keep building it up. You're also going to need a collection of rising third ornaments that I've taken. I've gone back to Ortiz for this, and Diego Ortiz, that's where we took our first cadential divisions from. And again, rather than send you the whole lot and get you to find the relevant bit, I've just written out the ones that we're going to need and the ones we're going to use today. So do print that out as well. Decorations of a rising third from Diego Ortiz. You'll need a pencil, you'll need a rubber. You should never try doing anything that needs more than one brain cell without a cup of tea in one hand. So I recommend that as well. Let's have a look then, shall we? So how about we just play through all of Ortiz's examples. So the interval that is being decorated is a B up to a D. Starting by doing that if your notes are semibreves. In the treatise, he doesn't actually specify, he doesn't give a clef and he doesn't give a key signature. He just says, I've deliberately left the clefs out because the pattern of the notes applies whatever clef you're in, whatever note you start on. So in this one, I've given it a treble clef, but I haven't given it a key signature. And when we get to example number 4, I'm going to put an F sharp at the bottom, just because we're thinking in G major. So I hope that makes sense. Let's set ourselves a not too quick minim, and we'll play the undivided semi-breve interval first, and then we'll just play our way through all 9 examples. Let's go 3, 4. Number 1. It's the sort of thing you'll wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning finding is just playing round and round in your brain. I'm sorry, that's just the way it goes. So that's 9 examples of how to ornament a rising third if your interval is of a semi-breve in duration. And then he goes on and says, what if your notes are minims? And he gives 10 examples for that. So similar speed, shall we? And we'll play again the unornamented one first, and then just straight through all 10 variations on it. Let's have 1, 2, 1, 2. probably that some of those, the minim examples, are exactly the same as the semibreve, but he's just halved the length. So number 1 in the semibreve example is the same thing as number 4 in the minim example. It's just twice as quick. And number 5 in the semibreve example is the same as number 7 in the minims. He's just made it into semiquavers. So there's no reason why you couldn't do the same with the other ones from the semibreve examples. Just halve the note values, squish them into a minim instead. So that gives you plenty of possibilities for ornamenting rising thirds. So I think we'll do the same as we've done before, and we'll work out the top part, the cantus part, together so that you can see what fits where. And then I will leave you to it on the alto part, and we'll put them both together. So let's see what we've got then. My first rising third is the very first thing I play in the cantus part. Now I've already got an ornament written in bar 3 from when we were dividing the rising steps. So I don't want to do anything too fancy in the very first one, because I've got quite a lot of stuff written in bar 3 and the beginning of bar 4. So I think I might just start with the very simple, under the minim division examples, number 1, dotted crotchet, quaver, minim. So I'm just going to put that in the very first rising third. And I've already got in bar 3. The next one is in bar 5. Maybe we could have something a little bit more adventurous. Minim again, so I'm looking at the minim examples on the sheet. How about number 4? So one that turns round on itself. To go in there. So bar 4. Etc. Bar 5, sorry, example 4. Bar 5. Let's go on. Where's my next one? Oh, look at all that stuff we wrote in last time. This is bar 17. Bar 17 on the second page. This is odd. I've highlighted this as a rising third, but actually it's 2 steps, isn't it? But if you look at it as a bigger interval, you could think about it as a semibreve C rising to an E, and they've already divided it with the crotchet D that's in there. As you start to look at bigger patterns within melodic lines, you'll find that there are much more opportunities for divisions even than just looking for all the thirds. So anything with 2 steps in a row, you could treat it as a rising third, couldn't you, and add some of these ornaments in. So I'm suggesting that in bar 17 then we treat that like a semibreve rising third. So we're going to need the examples from the top of our page. I'm a little bit conscious that there's quite a lot happening in the tenor part at 17, and I don't really want to get in the way. Equally, looks like quite a good opportunity for decorating, doesn't it? So we'll try it out and see what happens. I think if we move by crotchet, I'm likely to get in the way of the tenor part harmonically, because divisions tend to move by step. They're moving by quaver by step. If we move by crotchet step, we're going to end up uncomfortably close, aren't we, harmonically? So I'm going to go for a quaver version. I'm looking at the semibreve section, and I'm wondering about number 5. So I'm just going to write in here. Obviously we're a tone higher, aren't we, in the madrigal than the example is given here. So you've got to start 1 tone higher. We're going to start on the C that's printed. Rises by 4, falls, turns round at the end, and comes back up. So bar 17. And I've got all sorts of stuff written at the end of 16, the previous bar, from the previous set of ornaments. So it's starting to look quite fancy, this treble part. But we'll keep going and see where we end up. So I'm at the bottom of the page then, bar 24. And there are 2 consecutive rising thirds, each of a minim. So I'm in the bottom half, the second half of the division sheet. And I'm wondering whether we could decorate both of these, but I wonder if we might make the first one slightly less adventurous than the second. So how about, for example, we use number 6 for the first rising third, and we use number 7 for the second one. So 7 is just a kind of slightly fancier version of 6, isn't it? And that would seem to work quite nicely. So again, we're not starting on the B that's in the examples, we're starting on a G here. So the whole thing just needs to come down by a third to start with. So that's example number 6 put in here. And then for the next rising third, let's use example 7. And actually we're exactly the same pitch, aren't we, as the example sheet here. So you can straightforward copy that one over. Going to run out of space. So I hope that makes sense. We've used number 6 first, and then having arrived on that B, we've used example 7 at the end of the bar. With me so far? Hope so. Going on. This is 29, bar 30. Bar 30. And again, conveniently, we're actually at exactly the pitch that's given on the example sheet. Now I've got in here quite a fancy ornament that we put in last time at the beginning of bar 30, lots of semiquavers. I'm wondering whether to just ignore the rising third at the end of the bar, having had the fireworks before it, or whether I might just continue out of it with something a bit less frenetic. Quite like the look of number 9, and we haven't used that before. So I'm in the bottom half of the sheet, the minim divisions, example number 9. Let's have a go at that in this space here. Can I fit it in? Yes, just about. And it's exactly the pitch that's given in the example sheet. And that's it. That's me done for the cantus part. So why don't I get the magic box to play the bass, the tenor and the alto. I'll play the cantus part, and I'm going to play it with everything we've got so far. So all the cadential decorations, all the rising seconds that we did last time, and all the rising thirds that we've just put in now. It's going to be a good test of whether or not I can read my handwriting. we go. You know what happens now, don't you? It's your turn. So taking all the things that we've just thought about, your job is the alto part. Write stuff in, rub stuff out, try things out, and then come back and we'll try the whole lot together. Okay, so this time the magic box will play the bass and the tenor. I'll put the cantus in, and you are chief in charge of the ornamented alto part. See you at the end. How did it go? Should we have another shot? It's always, I always find it, that it takes me by surprise when I get to the things that I've written in and I'm busy thinking, oh, how quick does that go and how much time have I got to fit it into? And then I fall over my fingers the first time I try things through. So why don't we just have another shot? Exactly the same speed, exactly the same thing. Let's just set the thing at the beginning. Okay, here we go. there we have it. I think we might do rising fourths and rising fifths next time. Do come back.